Hi, in today's episode, we have Saurabh Kumar. Saurabh is from Ranchi and from the famous school as MS Dhoni, which everybody knows about. But we have Saurabh here, who's doing some amazing work. He's the co-founder of Pothole Raja. Now, if you're going to ask me what's Pothole Raja, it is the burning desire of the founders to have no potholes in the world and to do a road trip covering all the states of India. And it's a name that resonates with anyone talking about potholes in the world. He's an active fitness motivator, recently did 1,000 push-ups in 2.5 hours. Wow, I can't even do one. Has run multiple 10K runs, 2-hour stadium run and 1 marathon. He's also had awards and recognition. Professionals of LinkedIn, top 100 India's most influential global youth marketing professional by Zoom TV. And today he's here with me on Muri Mohwa's podcast. Welcome, Saurabh.
Thank you so much.
So tell me, Saurabh, about this whole journey. What made you name this Pothole Raja?
So, Pothole Raja as a name, of course, it's a very interesting name and people do connect with it. And it also has a lot of questions attached to that. Ki Pothole Raja, why is exactly the name? So, it basically, a little bit of background. It was started by, my colleague, Dr. Pratap, who was an ex-Indian Air Force pilot. Way back in 2000, after a crash land, he had to move out of Air Force, and that's where his corporate journey started. 11 years he worked in multiple corporates, and then when he decided to leave his job in 2011, he was the global vice president of HP. That's where his entrepreneurial journey started, and started as a management consultant. Started working with a lot of companies which are towards road management and road construction. That's where understanding of how better roads are done across the world, and what are the problems in India. So when he was there working in HP, a lot of people from outside world connect to India as an amazing culture, beautiful place, but horrible roads.
Yes.
Which is in fact a very
Bangalore takes the cake.
Bangalore, Bombay, you name any metro city for the matter of fact, it's all same. I mean, we get the more highlight because we are the IT capital. So yeah. But that's where the thought process started that, okay, the roads are bad, but what can we do? What can I do as a citizen? I mean, can I do something about it or not, was the first question. So that's where when the research started, road safety as a big parameter and what can be done, what cannot be done, potholes emerged to be one of the biggest death, reason for death on Indian roads. So when the name was, actually the concept behind the name is in, ancient times, when the Raja Maharaja wale time mein, kings and queens, when they traveled, they always had a beautiful road, right? They would never travel on roads which are,
They went to the
bad.
palanquin.
Correct. So, and that wouldn't go on bad road. So, why should anybody in this country travel on a bad road? So, that was the logic behind naming Pothole Raja. So, anybody who is driving on the road should travel like a king or a queen. And anybody who is associated with us, who comes with us as a volunteer or, who is a part of our Pothole Raja community, we name them Pothole Raja or Pothole Rani. So that's the logic behind it.
So if I were to join you, I would be called Pothole Rani.
You would be a Pothole Rani.
Oh.
You are a Pothole Rani.
Okay.
And that's where, so initially my journey started with HP as a software developer. I was, comfortably writing codes behind the laptop and reading the news at the same time. One news article which caught my attention, that's where the entire shift started, was one newspaper article which said that, wife and a husband, they were driving down after having dinner at friend's place, and husband was trying to avoid a pothole and both of them skidded off their bike. Unfortunately, wife's head banged on the barricade and she died on spot. And that was the news that really shook me, saying that, why is somebody there who was born to die on a pothole? I mean, for somebody, it can be the entire life. I mean, somebody
Absolutely, a whole family can get devastated.
Yeah,
but what is, I have to bring this out to you, Saurabh, is this that excepting for people who would get written about in the newspaper, we get to know, because I think pothole deaths are alarmingly large for laborers, for people who sometimes may get drunk. And, there are a lot of people who are laborers and they would go out to a little theka and have a drink and come back. And then so many deaths that are not even counted. Potholes to cover seems like the most demonic and the biggest, largest, monstrous job. So how do you see yourself covering? Because every day cities are growing, every day, and every day roads are being dug. How do you plan to cover the entire place? Or do you have any areas that you're looking into?
So, I mean, of course, it's a humongous task, as you
It
rightly
is.
said. I mean, the amount of pothole that appears and disappears in monsoon, disappears because of water logging, and appears because of, again, water. It's huge. I mean, if we, as an organization, if we devote our entire lifetime, we probably wouldn't be able to do that. But how we are tackling this is we engage with citizens, we engage with a lot of civic participation, the companies participating through their CSR initiatives, and the organizations, government organizations also becoming an important stakeholder in that. See, India is as a demography, as the kind of country that we are in, it cannot be one man's job. That's what we have realized. The things that work in a Western country, it doesn't work out in India. I mean, probably
What
Amazon.
would you attribute that to?
One example that I would say, if Amazon had a same business model as in US and they would launch in India with the same thing, it wouldn't be that successful. The buying pattern of Indians are very, very different from the buying patterns of Americans, right? Here, the emotion that gets attached to people are very different from, places. Here, the sellers who are getting onboarded, they have a very different journey. So every company that I have understood and I have, read in the past 5-6 years, every company that comes to India comes with a very different mindset. It's a very complex situation over here, and it has to be tackled as per the ground situation. It cannot be like, agar same business model has worked in X country, it cannot work in India. As simple as that. So over here, emotions are there. I mean, very high emotions. A lot of, in every kilometer, you have a community which is different.
What do you mean when you say high emotions? Because you would obviously be on the road trying to do this, and along with citizens, if you're doing it, what do you mean by that?
What I see is, we are constantly in the mode of cribbing and complaining most of the time. The traffic becomes red. Why is it red? People start honking. Patience level in our country is very, very less. And the complaint and the cribbing that I have seen personally, because I used to be on the same side of the table. When I was working over there, I also had the same orientation that, why is this not happening? Why is that not happening? It should be right. It shouldn't be like this. But then I realized that what is the end to crib and complain? Is there any end? Why am I not thinking about the solution? Because I know the problem. I might not be the best person in the world to solve that, but can I at least start thinking about it? That's where disruption happens, right? If I am not getting into that thing, I will be, sitting comfortably on my chair, good ergonomic, everything that company takes care of me and have salary at the end of the day. And I keep writing tweets and Facebook, comments and all saying that this is not working, that is not working. But it doesn't really help out. Unless we are solution oriented, things don't change, typically in a, country like, us. So that's where the orientation was. Can I contribute something? Can I take care of at least my surrounding? Can I be that responsible citizen who is not throwing garbage and then not complaining? Because ultimately, if you see, if the city is dirty, who is making it dirty? Of course, we citizens. So can I take care of my surrounding was the first thought process. When I jumped into this, I realized, as you rightly said, the problem is huge. How many potholes can Pothole Raja fix? Possibly in some 1,000 lakhs, but those lakhs are every year. So our journey also has been phenomenal in terms of the number of potholes that we have fixed, the number of cities we have
How many
reached.
potholes have you filled till now?
So in the last 4 years, we have fixed more than now 9,000 potholes.
Wow, 9,000 potholes. Kudos.
And we have reached 9 cities. And if I translate that 9,000 potholes to how many lives are safe on Indian road every day, taking minimum count, that would roughly translate around 15 to 20 lakh people driving safe because of the pothole that we have fixed every day.
So tell me something. I mean, I'm very curious to understand, how did you get down to something that is really in Bangalore? It would be the BBMP office, their work, right? And I would like to believe that if you're in the government turf, that you would have a lot of people not wanting you to do this. Yes, because there are two sentiments in this that I would think that as a taxpayer, I do think I deserve a decent road, sanitation, health. Okay, I know that we're a growing economy and there's so many layers in my country. So did you have any of these things that when you spoke to citizens? I'm sure because so many people would say इतना टैक्स कटता है और उसके बाद हमारे पास गाड़ियाँ जब लोग खरीदते हैं उनके पास सड़कें नहीं होती है ड्राइव करने के लिए और गाड़ी जो है वो एक एस्पिरेशन है और इंडिया में एस्पिरेशनल क्लास बहुत it's really growing in a very huge way, right? So how did you kind of, bridge this when you spoke to people?
See, I'll tell you, even now, this is the first question that is asked to us, that why should we do and why shouldn't the government do? What we feel as an organization, as a human being, first of all, my organization comes after me. But what I feel is there has to be a line and a boundary wherein our responsibility also starts kicking in, right? As I said, if we are continuously on the cribbing and complaining mode, things wouldn't move at all in India. I'll give you a few examples. We always had public road transport infrastructure. Buses were there, local trains were there. Why is that we have Ola and Uber now? And has Ola and Uber solved the way we travel in our country? If the answer to that is yes, because that's ultimately helping people to travel from point A to point B in a most convenient way.
But there would be a question here because it's always backed by a corporate, because with the taxis and the autos and the buses, there's a whole union that happens. Their jobs are very, very taken for granted. And it's the basic attitude that, might is right in India that works, I think, on the roads especially. I'm a terrible driver, but I try to not go behind the wheel. I'm very scared of the large buses, and just that basic respect for each other on the roads is not there. So when you bring up the example of an Ola and an Uber, I would like to believe that there's a huge organization that is there that's putting the whole process together. For example, you don't get cheated because if you're going to go in, there's a whole system, right? So I still again think that the government is in question here then.
I am not denying the fact at all. These are some of the basic facilities that citizens of any country deserve.
Does that bring in frustration? Because, I would expect that if I'm a woman and I've been writing so much about gender and stuff, why should I feel unsafe when today we are talking about so many things? I'm still unsafe because if I am walking alone on the road and in any city in India and I'm probably wearing a tight dress, and if a guy really makes a pass at me, yes, the police will help you. But the first question in their head would be, why is she walking alone? Why is she doing? I know I'm digressing, but what I'm trying to talk about is the mindset in this, right? Yeah. So I feel very terrible about it, that why shouldn't there be a cap? Like if a cop is talking to you like this, it should get recorded probably, like the way an Ola guy can't get away, So does that sometimes make you feel that you wish that the government was more efficient in doing this? Because, people have died because of bad roads. And there are, especially during the pandemic, there were so many times that you would hear these, there are old people they're trying to reach a place and they sometimes can't reach. So road is a huge issue, right, in our country. And how did you tackle with BBMP? I mean, I will talk on behalf of Bangalore. How did you tackle that? I would like to know that.
See, to answer your first question, does that make me uncomfortable? Definitely not. Because of the fact that our orientation is very, very different from how I used to also see, the way problems are solved in our country.
How is it solved in our country?
See, first is blame game. Right?
Okay.
Someone is not doing their job. Someone was supposed to do. We are paying taxes, as you rightly said. And it's our right. We definitely need to question that. We are paying taxes. Of course, we need better solutions, better infrastructure and all. It cannot go on forever. That's our thought process. It's not always that cribbing and complaining or asking questions are gonna solve. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do, but there has to be a limit to that, is what I believe. And if that is not helping, we rather go and start finding solutions, because that's where an entire new industry also comes into picture that maybe the government also wouldn't have realized. And now the startup culture in our country is so good. The government of India is promoting startups. They're promoting people to,
Yeah, they've been amazing startups, yes.
So, and we are also associated with, the Startup India community as well. And they help us tackle this problem as well. Okay. Which are the right, places to go, which are the right collaborate.
That is fantastic. Please repeat that again, because there's so many people, I'm sure, would want to start an entrepreneur journey and they're scared. And you're saying that the startup community, they put you together to the right people for you to take anything that is related on a social work level, right?
Yeah. So there are different kinds of startups. I mean, what Pothole Raja is a social startup, right? We're solving a problem which is largely associated to a social problem that exists in front of us. But it definitely needs to have a model around it. It cannot be just going on and keep on doing. It has to grow. It has to reach out to multiple cities. So another question that you asked was how is the response of BBMP?
Yeah.
We have done a lot of projects together in a collaborative way because the companies are also associated through CSR, citizens are also associated, and the government is also involved.
Okay.
So it becomes a collaborative model wherein the entire society benefits from it.
Okay.
Right? So that's what we believe in. And when we come up with better solutions, right, the government also puts faith in us, saying that can we now start implementing the solution that we are showcasing as a part of the larger gamut? Because ultimately the amount of money, the amount of infrastructure that the government has, possibly no company can match that, right? We recently won a startup competition which is organized by Maharashtra government.
Okay.
Now we are one of the 24 startups which will be getting a grant of 15 lakh rupees from the Maharashtra government to implement our solution and product in Maharashtra to solve problems over there. Of course, we will be solving the road problems, and if that goes really well, which I'm really confident that it will go really well, we possibly can start working with the government as well. If I had the same orientation, saying that this is not my job, this is somebody else's job, and I wouldn't have put my brain in even improving the technology that we offer, I don't know where I would have been as of now versus where I am and where our organization is. So it's a transition that happens, and it's also a long-term vision that what we want to do. I think another thing that you asked is where are we heading to and all. When we started, we were doing a lot of corrective maintenance. Now, what is corrective? Pothole has happened. We are going and fixing it. We continue to do that. Can we make roads which don't develop pothole? That's where our journey has now transitioned into. We have made a product which is completely made out of recycled plastic waste. And if we make roads from that, the pothole wouldn't appear even if heaviest of heavy rain.
Wow.
Now that has happened.
And how did you come up with the product?
That's what I said. I mean, our long-term vision was to go from corrective to preventive maintenance. And that's where the entire journey, comes into picture.
Okay.
So if we are solution-oriented, what I believe personally is, you will always come up with new solution. And
Absolutely.
That's where, even though I'm not from the road infrastructure community at all, my engineering was very different. I was working as an IT professional, but what I'm doing right now, if somebody would understand, it's hardcore civil engineering.
Yes.
Last 4 years, I know a lot of technical terms which is associated because that's my hardcore job as of now. So when you are into that and you are in the problem solving mode, I believe people come up with amazing solutions. I mean, you see Elon Musk, he has made rocket. He never studied about rocket. Nobody supported him. He studied himself and he's now, flying rockets, which is much more cheaper than anybody else that is doing across the world. So it's just intention. And one thing that you asked for the people who want to start on their own, what I believe personally is just the risk-taking capability. If you have that risk-taking capability, everything will start following you. You don't need to be the smartest kid in the house, in the town. All you need to be the person who can take risk. That's all. After that, everything starts following you.
So it's really interesting after having done your, after done engineering, and then when you went back and you told your parents कि अब मैं सड़क पे potholes में fix कर रहा हूँ. For all our English listeners, that you went back home and you told your parents that you would be filling up potholes all across the country. How did they react?
I mean, that's another very funny, interesting story. So I was like, I'll be that, good kid. I'll tell my parents that, this is what I want to do in my life. I thought that, definitely they wouldn't be happy about it because, of course, in IT, you see the jump, right? I mean, if you do multiple switch, then the regular pattern of, doing an MBA and again coming back. So it's a huge money and financial stability is very, very high in our country in IT sector.
Yes.
And then I came up with a weird idea saying that I'll be fixing potholes. So, what happens is when you're working in IT and when you start working, I mean, irrespective of wherever you are, 3-4 years you're working, you start getting calls for marriage alliances and all. So my dad and mom were also getting calls, though at that point of time, of course, marriage was not on the cards, but they were happy saying that, okay, some people are inquiring and they were very happy that somebody is calling. So the first thing that my dad said was, now nobody will call. How exactly are you thinking? Who will give you, the daughter and who will marry you? So I was like, okay, at least you can ask some more meaningful questions that how will you earn money and all those things. What is the organization about? But that's what. So they took turn to, scold me saying that this is the worst decision that you're taking in your life. But I was very convinced because I thought through a lot, and I was very convinced with the fact that this is what I want to do. I don't know how will I do it. Honestly, I had no clue that how exactly will I do. The only answer that I had was this is what I wanted to do. I had left my job without even telling my parents. They were under impression that every day 5 o'clock the call was that okay, I'm coming back from my office and I'll go to gym and dinner, blah blah blah. But which office was not clear. They were under impression that I'm coming back from HP, where I was I had completely transitioned into something else. When I went back home 6 months after that during Holi, then I broke this news and they were like, why are you telling us now? You've already taken the decision. It's your life. Do something. Do whatever you want to do. We play no role in your life. Typical parent, a middle class family. So I understand their expectations are, all parents, for the matter of fact, they want their kids to be financially independent, doing well in their life, settle as soon as possible. For me, the word settle, I am still in that journey to find what does the settle mean. Does that mean having a car?
You can say that again and again. The word settle for every, I think middle class, or I think all families, it means that you've gotten married and you've had children and you have a job.
And you have a car
and you have a car and you have a house and you're settled. Yes.
And tons of EMI to pay.
Yes. And what happens is that's when the unsettling happens, which I don't think the parents ever tell the children ever. Yeah. And, kids are so conditioned to believe that this is what it takes to settle. So, but tell me this whole unsettling feeling that you got about, wanting to quit your work. What was that trigger, because obviously there is a social worker inside you that I can see as, the more I'm talking to you, I can see that. So what was the trigger?
See, for me, trigger was, you see, if any cause connected to a social problem, most of the time you would find people who would have faced that in their immediate family or themselves. That's where somebody starts. For me, it was very different. The question that I asked myself, do I really want to be in that state wherein some of my really close friends or a family member meets with an accident because of pothole, and that's when I want to start off? Or shall I start now and start making difference, in the life of others? And it took some time. I initially started with Pothole Raja as a volunteer to understand how things work out. Finances never came to my mind. I was like, if I have to jump in, I'll jump in. I know that, parents will be bothered saying that how will you earn money from where, Bangalore is an expensive city. How will you take care of yourself? Back of my head, I was very convinced this is what I want to do. I'll figure out the rest of things afterwards. So, people keep asking, saying that, a lot of, all of us, in fact, would have fun, that quote that, really resonates with us. So I've actually combined two quotes. One is from Richard Branson saying that if an opportunity comes to you and you don't know how to do it, say yes and figure out the rest of the things later on.
I completely agree with you in this one, because when I started my journey, I also really didn't know where it would go, I had this whole thing since 2017 ki mujhe podcast karna hai. I want to start podcasting. Why? Because I'd left my journalism career and I really enjoy talking to people. I'm a people's person. In the media, I don't think everybody gets their due for the kind of work that people do. And that also has been one of my biggest factors. I can very nicely say that it's not money that motivates me. It's about touching a few people's lives. It's also about sharing stories. For example, Pothole Raja should be there as a headline story, in a leading publication, according to me. But, in fact, you're going to have something else that the space has been bought. And that's what saddens me also, that this voice that needs to go out for the kind of work that you do, because you are sacrificing money, you're sacrificing so many things, that you could have probably had some more better things to do this. So yeah, I completely relate to this quote that you say. And what is the second one?
Second one is from Mahatma Gandhi, that be the change that you want to see in the world. So I have combined these two things, and I say that if an opportunity comes to you to change the world, jump into it and figure out the rest of the things later on, because that opportunity wouldn't come to you again. So when I was leaving my job, I said 10 years down the line, do I want to be in that state wherein I question the Saurav of 2017, saying that you had an opportunity to change the world, but you chose to be on that. You did not choose to be on that side, but you chose to be on that side when the entire world is moving
the safe side,
the safety net. So I said no, I don't want to be in that state. I know my parents will be sad, they will be angry, But when I start doing good in my life, they would also understand what I was up to, right? And I think somehow I've achieved that in this year, that they have started feeling that, okay, this guy is doing little bit good in his life. So I mean, that will come, but that never crossed my mind. And I had convinced myself, saying that things that will come from my parents shouldn't bother me, because that is coming out of concern. That's it. That they don't want any bad thing to happen to me, and that's the only thing that is triggering
That's what
them
most
to
parents
say.
are
Yeah.
like. No, they worry when that you're not on a wrong track. You're not doing
Yeah.
something that's crazy. So for our listeners, thank you so much, Saurabh, for being on today's episode. And if people were to find you, you are on www.potholeraja.com. And if people were to get in touch with you to be one of your volunteers, they can contact you through your website, or do you have an Instagram page?
To get in touch with us, our toll-free number is 814 pothole. So after 814, if you're on your dial pad, if you dial pothole, so P is corresponding to 7, O is to 6, and like that. So it becomes a 10-digit number. So it's easiest way to remember is 814 pothole. Of course, we are there in all social media handles. Pothole Raja is the handle that we have: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. So people can get in touch with us through any of these means, and we'll be more than happy to take things ahead after that.
So to more Pothole Rajas and Pothole Ranis, I want to congratulate you for having the gumption to carry forward something that you believe in, because I think this is what the country needs. And I do believe that this is change that we are talking about. And congratulations. And I'm sure Pothole Raja is going to definitely be a name that will be in everybody's lips, because surely potholes in our country and in all the roads is a huge, huge issue. Of just last week, I think somebody died in Bangalore. And for me, at a certain level, I just feel that so many deaths go unaccounted. We only know about the people who can reach the newspapers, but there are so many guys who do not reach the newspapers. So it's fantastic what you're doing. Congratulations, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Nova. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. To you, our dearest listeners, you can find us on your favorite streaming services. Find us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and of course, all other major streaming services. With loads of love, we are Moody Mo Awaaz Podcast, where Hatke is hot.